Welcome to our seminar preview of the American Revolution South. We are so excited tonight to be joined by our program director, that's our on-campus program director, Georgette Hackman, who's a teacher, a middle school teacher who loves it and's done all kinds of extraordinary things in education. And our particular program director for this this seminar is none other than Arch Hunter, extraordinaire. And we'll introduce Arch in just a minute. And for all of you out there, we know that a lot of you love Arch and love going on his historical adventures. And so hopefully tonight we can discuss it a little bit. We'll turn it over to Arch as we go through kind of each area here in a few minutes that we'll be looking at on this traveling workshop through the South. And of course, me being from the South, I kind of find this exciting. So tonight, here's your two main hosts. I'm Jeff Scott. I'm the Vice President of Education here at Freedom's Foundation at Valley Forge, one of the greatest places on earth. And look at that picture of Arch Hunter there, Program Director, Master Showman, and Guide. Okay.
I don't think I've ever been called a showman, but Jeff, but.
All right. So tonight we're going to be looking at the American Revolution South. And what is it necessarily? It's basically a 6-day seminar, 5 full days, and where you get to discover the knowledge of Arch, amazing site exploration, which we'll talk about a few of those, and Arch is going to share some insight on them and why those sites are important. Of course, along the way, Arch will be sharing all kinds of content, and you'll get to do different things with other teachers, sharing information, networking. It's going to be a phenomenal week throughout the South. It's going to be hot, but it's going to be phenomenal. Okay. All right, so first of all, one of the places you're going to be starting out, or where you're going to be starting out, is Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, here at Freedom's Foundation in the beautiful Keystone State. And there you see on the map, or on the slide here, is a picture of the campus. We're located about a mile down from Valley Forge Park. It's a beautiful area. And when you come on campus, typically, if you're here for an on-campus program, you stay here. Those of you coming for this particular seminar will be staying here that Sunday night and then taking off the following morning on your adventures. But we have all kinds of dormitories. We have 2, as you see right here where the cursor is. There's one of them, and there's the other one, okay? And then, of course, this is the MacArthur building right here, where we have some dorm rooms, we have classrooms, we have a great eating area. And over here is the Martha Washington building, which is our main administrative building. And as you see here, the flag is one of the biggest flags in America. And there's nothing like pulling on the campus of Freedom's Foundation, turning the corner and seeing that flag waving in the wind. It's absolutely magical. Okay, and so that's where we are, and we can't wait to see all of you and greet you here at Freedom's Foundation and get you ready for your amazing adventure throughout the South. All right, so these are some of the things that you'll be talking about and learning. Arch will touch upon some of these as he covers each area and so forth. And Georgette's going to be looking for any questions or whatever we may have from the audience and everything. Okay, so again, we're going to be investigating, explaining like the physical history of these areas that you're going to be exploring. We're going to be looking at how to incorporate these different sites into your classroom and so forth. So welcome, Bobby. We appreciate you being here tonight and so forth. We see some people popping on. This is very exciting. Okay. All right. So these are the big topics. And so Sunday night, when you get here, Arch and I will be here and we'll be talking about different things. We'll be talking about kind of the week in itself. We'll do a Medal of Honor spotlight, kind of show you what we have here on campus, because we'd certainly love having all you back, maybe for an on-campus seminar. Then Monday, you'll be looking at Mount Vernon and the shaping of George Washington. Tuesday is Yorktown, a defining battle. Wednesday is the Southern strategy. Thursday is the need for strong leadership. And Friday is a win just in time. Okay. And so we'll be looking at the specifics of some of these places in a minute. And I'm about to turn it over to Arch. So Arch, you're known as a historian, a teacher, tour guide. I forgot to put on here, podcast host, a Renaissance man. Tell us a little bit, maybe what?
Quintessential Renaissance man, Jeff.
So, Arch, tell us a little bit before we get into the big points here. Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you like doing this kind of stuff in the first place.
Well, retired public school teacher for 25 years, been with the foundation now for about almost 18 years. The foundation and their courses radically changed my teaching in my first year of my teaching career, and been always grateful for what they did and all the classes that I've been able to take from the foundation, and been very fortunate over the years now to be involved with the foundation on a lot of different levels. So for me, Jeff, the importance of understanding, particularly the American Revolution, and obviously we have to look at battles and landscape, is go to these sites and see what happened on these sites and understand what happened there and why it happened there and the importance of it. And it's great to read the books. It's great to do the study, and we continue all of our teachers to do that. But if we can put the books together with on-site lectures and interpretations on site, it makes it so much better for the teachers to understand. And most of our teachers get excited when they see that, and they take it back to their classroom and able to teach it. So that's why I love to do the traveling classes and get the teachers out of the classroom so that they can look, taste, touch, and feel on these sites, and to see what happened there and why it happened there, and then take it back to their classroom and not only teach their students what happened, but get them to debate of what happened there, why it happened, the personalities involved. So that is why I love doing the off-campus programs, to take teachers to these sites. And a lot of our teachers, Jeff, they've never been to any of these sites.
Yeah.
And
true.
so when they come and see these sites, and then they understand the geography and the topology, what went on there and why it went on there, it gives them a better understanding. And let me also emphasize with you, when you said for all of our teachers, it's summer, it's going to be hot. You know, get used to the humidity of the South, but a week in the heat is well worth the knowledge that our teachers are going to be able to get and to appreciate and get excited about, and go back and read and continue to study, and then implement it into their classroom.
Well said, Arch. And that is true. When you talked about taste and feel and, sights and look at it, I was thinking, I haven't eaten tonight, and I was thinking that's the exact same stuff I do at Burger King. But anyway, that's excellent words there from Arch. And let's look at some of the places we're going to be going to, Arch. Okay, first of all, and guys, there's so much on this excursion, this trip, that we can't talk about it all tonight. So we're going to hit some highlights. And Arch, first of all, let's talk about Mount Vernon. Why are we going to Mount Vernon, home of George Washington?
Well, the importance of it is, Jeff, is how Mount Vernon was put together, why it was put together, how did George Washington ultimately get the land that we see at Mount Vernon, and then all the extracurricular, so to speak, the plantation that's there, the farming that's there, the all that went on at Mount Vernon before the war, during the war, and then when Washington was president, to see on so many different levels that we have to have an understanding that Washington was just not simply a general, or he not was just not simply the first president, but he was a tremendous businessman. And
Yes.
also Martha was able to maintain Mount Vernon while he was away for the 8 years of the American Revolution. And then during or after his presidency, they were able to host many diplomats that came through Mount Vernon. So the teachers are going to get an understanding of not only this is George and Martha Washington's home, but they're going to see how that plantation worked, why it was successful, the different crop rotations that Washington was able to implement, and fertilization that he was implementing there, why he became such a successful businessman when he shunned away from the mercantilism of the British Empire, and what he did there. So all this, Jeff, we're looking at a picture. Ultimately, Washington was our only founding father, Southern founding father that did not die in debt. And because of Washington was such a tremendous businessman. And what we will see at Mount Vernon is a culmination of what Washington was able to do as a business person.
Good. That's excellent. And Georgette, I'm making you co-host right now. And so you can help watch the chats and everything as we go. And we don't want to go there just yet. Well, maybe we do. We'll go to Fredericksburg in just a second. But Arch, before we get to Fredericksburg, I like what you said about Mount Vernon. For those people who have never been to Mount Vernon, it is quite an amazing place.
It is.
And I know Georgette, you've been there, and Arch, you've been there, and I tell you, when you go there, you just need to soak it in. I mean, just really listen to everything you're being told and everything, but at some point, just stop and look at the mansion, look at the house, just stop and look. Okay, once we leave Mount Vernon, we're going to hit a place called Fredericksburg, Virginia. Why is Fredericksburg, Virginia relevant to this trip?
Well, what we will see at Fredericksburg is that was also the American home of Hugh Mercer, who was not only a general in the Revolutionary War, but he was also a doctor and owned a drugstore there. And we're going to go to see the Mercer apothecary there, and we're going to see where Washington's mother lived when she lived in Fredericksburg. And so we're going to see different sites along, particularly along the main street there, that permeates so much of Fredericksburg, where Monroe had his law office there for a while. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be able to see there in Fredericksburg, and where we're going to go into different sites, and we're going to go into Hugh Mercer's shop, and we're going to be able to peruse the different aspects of leading up to the American Revolution, and the importance of some of these people that were very influential in Washington's life.
And that's very interesting. That's very interesting, Arch, because a lot of people, I'm not sure if they really connect Fredericksburg with the American Revolution.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And it has deep roots. Fredericksburg has deep roots, and I think this is an excellent opportunity for people that may know Fredericksburg in a different light to rediscover it from an earlier light. And so that's very exciting. And you would think I could have chosen a different picture, something maybe more exciting from Fredericksburg. But we do have some nice looking townhouses there. And again, you got to remember, when people were living in towns and close knit towns, they live in houses like this, and you would see some of the same people all the time, and you could have these quick conversations and everything. So it's very exciting, and Fredericksburg is going to be a wonderful place. Okay. All right. Now, Arch, this is a biggie. Yorktown. Yorktown. What do you think about Yorktown, and why is Yorktown relevant?
Well, geographically, it's very important because that's where Cornwallis ultimately set up his defenses at Yorktown. And so our teachers are going to be able to see the advantage that Cornwallis had at Yorktown and why he picked Yorktown, and ultimately why it became such a failure for the British Army at Yorktown. And our teachers are going to be excited because if they have seen particularly season 4 of Turn, a lot of season four was filmed at Yorktown, the little town of Yorktown. So they're going to be able to recognize some of the homes and a few of the streets there from Turn of the 4th season.
How about that? I did not realize that. That's interesting information.
Well, that's why we're here, right? And when we
That's
go out,
true.
when we go out onto the Yorktown battlefield, we're gonna start at the back and move progress forward through the Yorktown battlefield, and to see what Washington did with the French every day or every night to get closer and closer and closer to cornering Cornwallis in Yorktown. And then we're going to see the surrender field and be able to go out and walk on the surrender field, and to realize that this is only the second time in human history that the British surrendered an army. And we're going to look at the background, Jeff, of how did Washington get to Yorktown? How did he have to talk the French into coming? Their military troops. How did he talk the French Navy into getting there and blockading the James River so that the British fleet could not get in there? And then we're gonna look at, we can't get close to it. We're going to look at particularly readouts 9 and 10 that really are they're fenced in now because they're eroding so quickly. They're not even much there to see anymore. But Yorktown, it's tremendously important because we know that that's the last major battle, but it's not the end of the war. And that's a whole nother point that's so important when we look at Yorktown. The war goes on for 2 more years, and what Washington was able to do with the French Navy and talking General Rochambeau to bring the troops down there from upper state New York and Connecticut to get there and to see the timing of all this transpire, it is something that Washington wrote, Jeff, later on in his writings to Congress, where he said that Yorktown was almost a miracle.
Wow. It's almost like Washington had a lot of miracles throughout this campaign. And matter of fact, Arch, if I'm not mistaken, we're located here at Freedom's Foundation here in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. Was Yorktown like after Monmouth? Was that Yorktown the next time Washington's troops actually saw any fighting?
When Washington left Valley Forge, the Battle of Monmouth County Courthouse was July of 1778. Washington's army sees no more action until Yorktown, which is September, October of 81. So, yeah.
Well, I didn't something. It's really amazing. And what makes Yorktown so interesting is that, people think of Valley Forge, think Monmouth, think Yorktown. But what we're going to be looking at is this Southern campaign going through the Carolinas, which was so pivotal because some of my favorite people, especially Nathaniel Greene, makes a huge impact as we go forward. And Arch, before we leave this, are we going to see this windmill-looking thing, do you think?
We will see that. And also we're going to be able to go to the Revolution Museum in Yorktown, which if any of our teachers have been to the American Revolution Museum in Philadelphia, some of the teachers that know me know that I'm not a big fan of museums. This Revolution Museum, Jeff, in Yorktown is the far best museum I've seen ever.
Now
And
that's big words.
that
That's
big
big words.
Yeah, and we're going to be able to do a lot, get some time in there, and be able to let our teachers cut loose in there. And there's also a lot of interpretation at the Revolution Museum in Yorktown, and a lot of on-site interpreters also. So it's just a phenomenal place to see. And so we're not only going to be on the battlefield and look and walk the battlefield quite a bit, but also we're going over to the museum for our teachers to be able to see so much that's in there.
I cannot wait to this. This is a phenomenal day. Okay, Jamestown. All right, this is great. Why Jamestown? Why are we making a stop at Jamestown?
Well, the importance of Jamestown obviously is not the revolution, but it's the beginning. You know, it's the beginning. It's the beginning. And so much is going on at Jamestown, and the construction that's going on there, and the archaeological digs that are going on there. We are so close to Jamestown.
Yeah.
We have to go. We just have to go, and to allow the teachers to see this is really the beginning. This is where everything started. And they're also going to see why Jamestown ultimately geographically failed, and it had to move, which is Williamsburg today. So we're going to go to Jamestown. There's been some archaeological digs in the last couple of years, and then again this past summer, that they have discovered some new exciting things that has added to the history of Jamestown. That we're going to go, and we're also going to visit the glass house that's there. And a lot of the teachers, what's the glass house? They're going to be able to see how glass was being made during the colonial time period.
Man, so that's awesome. And yeah, you're right. You know, Jamestown doesn't tie directly into obviously the American Revolution, but is the beginning. And
it's the beginning.
When you're so close, you got to go to Jamestown, man.
Absolutely.
I've been to Jamestown once, and it's special. You know, you don't think about it being that you know Jamestown, but it's not till you get there that you think, my goodness, this is Jamestown. You know, and it's pretty amazing. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Arch. Am I pronouncing this correctly? Alamance Battlefield.
Alamance. Yep, you got it. Alamance. Okay.
Now, I think a lot of people out here, and those with us today, maybe have never heard of this battlefield. What is significant about this battlefield?
And Jeff, that's one of the reasons we're going, because so many people have never heard of Alamance. So many people have never heard of the regulators in North Carolina. And if you're a North Carolinian, when you're asked, where did the revolution start? They will not say Lexington and Concord. They will say Alamance. They will say Alamance. So we have to go all the way back, Jeff, before Lexington and Concord, and look at what was building up. What was building up in, now particularly the South, what was building up that gave such an anti-British fervor at that time. And so Alamance is the last battle of the regulators and North Carolina troops. And they were, the regulators were fighting over too much taxation. They wanted local control over the governments. The governor of North Carolina was fighting them with North Carolinians. And so Alamance is a major conflict. And that is really, that was 1781. And so that was really what a lot of historians say was a prerequisite to Lexington and Concord. And when we go there, again, we have to understand the typology, the culture, the society that we're dealing with, what people are feeling, taxation, what's going on these places that cause these people to want to rebel against their own state and their own governor. So Alamance is extremely important to understand that the American Revolution starts long before Lexington and Concord. You know, Lexington and Concord was the match on the fire. Well, there's a lot brewing long before we get to Lexington and Concord, and Alamance is that last major conflict in North Carolina between the North Carolinian militia and the regulators.
Wow, that is amazing. And it's just amazing what you just mentioned about, the topography of places, it means a lot today in our own life. When you look at how people are living and you look at different events going on and how people maneuver. But at this day and time, it meant so much. I mean, pretty much everything revolved around your landscape, and how people maneuvered was, dependent on the landscape. And so it is very important, and we can never underestimate the power of geography. I think sometimes we try to blend geography into all their subjects, and because we're pressed for time, but it does really help to just separate it sometimes, and let's talk about how is this landscape so important to the outcomes of things. Okay. All right, Guilford Courthouse. Now, I'm sure most people have heard of Guilford Courthouse. Arch, why is it important? Why are we going there?
Well, General Greene is playing cat and mouse with General Cornwallis, and General Greene finally wears down General Cornwallis and the British to the point where Cornwallis is now, particularly now, he's getting desperate. And so General Greene sends spies to Guilford Courthouse 2 weeks before he sets up there to check out the landscape, and he sets his troops up at Guilford Courthouse, just waiting for Cornwallis to attack him at Guilford Courthouse. And we're going to see again the landscape. Well, how important was the landscape at Guilford Courthouse for General Greene to set up those 3 lines of defense, and how that worked in Greene's favor. Technically, it's a British victory, but the British were losing so many men. The Secretary of War for the British, Lord Fox, said, boy, another such victory, we wouldn't have a British army. So Guilford Courthouse is extremely important, particularly when we see the 3 different lines that General Greene sets up there, and how he's continuing to lure in the British to attack him, and then run from the field, get off the field, retreat from the field, and just leave dozens and dozens of British soldiers either wounded or killed at Guilford Courthouse. And so this is really if it's not the end of the end, it's near the beginning of the end for the British in the South.
Wow. And it's so amazing. And I tell you, when you talk about Nathaniel Greene, you cannot fail to mention his wife.
Absolutely.
His wife was an amazing woman herself, and even stayed amazingly so after he died and everything. So I would encourage people to actually look up the wonderful Katie Greene. Okay, Camden. Arch, why Camden? Ooh, should we even talk about Camden?
Well, we're going to Camden because, again, this is all it's incremental steps of the British losing control, losing power, running out of time in the South. Yeah. So every time there is a particular battle, or there's a skirmish, or something going on, it's the British are getting worn down, worn out. And again, Jeff, we're going to see where the British one of the major mistakes the British make in the South is a mistake that the United States government has made over and over again. The British believe that there would be thousands of colonists that would support them in the South.
Right.
and there would be thousands and thousands of Tory militias fighting with them. Well, we see that that obviously doesn't play out, doesn't work well. And now the British are trying to fight not only the small Continental Army, but there's 4 different militias that are attached to the Continental Army out there fighting against the British and a guerrilla war. So we're going to see the importance of Camden, what took place there, why it took place there. Again, these major mistakes that the British are constantly running up against, with, Jeff, the remembrance that the 4,000-pound gorilla in the room, always in the South, is the French. The French are coming, and the French are here, and the French naval power is all through the Caribbean now. And the British are running out of manpower to fight the war here, and they're running out of time. And General Greene knows that. So he's fighting these skirmishes and these battles, not necessarily to win them, but to withdraw from the field, to fight another day, to continue to wear down and wear out the British troops.
Well said. Well said. Okay, Arch, one more we'll talk about real quick. One of my favorite places is Cowpens. Why Cowpens?
Well, not only is General Greene one of my favorites, but Daniel Morgan is also one of my favorites. And this guy is, Jeff, he's one of the most colorful human beings in American history. Backwoods, not educated, a wagoneer, rough, tumble guy, brilliant marksman. Wherever Daniel Morgan went, he was very successful in everything. Well, Bannister Tarleton wants to get him. You know, Bannister Tarleton wants to get Daniel Morgan. So what Morgan does at the Cowpens is, again, he totally sets up Bannister Tarleton's cavalry at the Cowpens. And we're going to see Morgan's military strategy at the Cowpens, how it was successful, why it was successful, where ultimately Bannister Tarleton charged into these open fields at the Cowpens. And when this battle is over, within a short amount of time, he goes from 1,000 men down to 15. And basically that Cowpens is the beginning of the end for the British in the South, because Cornwallis loses his eyes, he loses his cavalry that Bannister Tarleton had there. And this amazing strategy that Daniel Morgan plans for Cowpens, that is still, Jeff, our West Point cadets go to Cowpens and they still study that military strategy that Daniel Morgan had to defeat this highly educated, this pompous officer, Bannister Tarleton. And Tarleton's lost his cavalry there, and the British are now sightless for the rest of the war in the South after Cowpens. Daniel Morgan then retires and goes home after Cowpens. But it's just when you're there, when our teachers are there, when they can look across these fields, when they can see the 3 lines of defense, and then Colonel Washington's cavalry hiding in the woods up on the right-hand side, it's just they're going to be able to understand what went on there and how it went on there, and then the brilliance that Daniel Morgan has at the Cowpens.
Yeah, Daniel Morgan, just like you were saying, just amazing. Amazing. There, you know, there needs to be I think there's been a movie about Daniel Morgan, but it may have been a long time ago. If there needs to be a movie, an updated movie about Daniel Morgan and his life, it's just incredible. And true or false, Arch, is Cowpens, did it get its name because that field where the main battle was is where the locals kept cows penned in?
Well, that's one of the how it got its name. But generally, when farmers wanted to sell stock or buy stock, they would take it to these places, and they would corral the cattle inside these pens. And so that's how, when you wanted to sell cattle or buy cattle, it's like today when you go to when you to the auction to buy a car. That's what it is today. So the
How
cattle
about that?
were corralled there so that you could either sell your cattle or buy cattle there. So it's important. It's for us, it's important because here Daniel Morgan, who was a guerrilla fighter, he's going to take on the British in an open field battle. And so when Bannister Tarleton sees that whom he believed Daniel Morgan makes a major mistake being out in an open field, that's exactly what Morgan wanted Bannister Tarleton to do. He takes on the British in an open field battle, and he destroys Bannister Tarleton's cavalry at the Cowpens.
Man, I'm getting excited just listening to this.
And I will say,
all right.
let me say, Jeff, one more. And the interesting about Daniel Morgan is rough tumble guy, gruff guy, fought a lot, dueled a lot. He was flogged 499 times because he punched the British officer in the face during the French and Indian War. Survived it, which most people died from it. And he turned out to be a gentleman. He cleaned himself up. He stopped using foul language, and he became a upright citizen. And we all understand, Jeff, what caused his personality to change. He fell in love with a young lady.
I would say a fine lady.
A fine lady who her father was a minister, and the minister told Daniel Morgan's future wife, that boy better straighten himself out if he ever wants to court you. And so that's what we see, this rough and tumble guy who finally gets his life turned around and becomes an upright citizen because of the persuasion of his wife.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is.
All right. So before we go to any questions, if we have any, another group that will most likely, those of you on campus, I just want to mention them, is Unify America. And they'll probably open this up to the people doing the traveling workshop as well. Unify America is a group that just wants to bring us together using conversation and techniques and things you can use in your classroom about handling tough topics and how we can have conversations without hating each other, which is very important. As you see in America today, we have to be better for ourselves and for our kids and for everybody. And so Unify America is working toward that. And again, there'll be more information about this coming down the road. All right. So today, that is our last seminar before the summer. And this is so exciting. We've had a lot of people watch these previews. And we really hope to see you during the summer. We hope to see you not only apply if you don't get into the traveling workshop, but to one of the amazing on-campus seminars. Go to the link, apply. And we have scholarships available. We have a few spots available in every on-campus seminar. We would love to have you. And so, Georgette, do we have any questions in the chat room?
We don't have any questions, Jeff, but I just wanted to reiterate how much we would love to welcome teachers to campus, even if they can't make it to the travel program, that all of those opportunities on campus are really worth looking at, checking out, and hopefully submitting your application, because we'd love to host you on our campus at Valley Forge this summer.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for go ahead, Arch. Go ahead.
Our off-campus programs or on-campus programs, Jeff, Georgette, they will radically change teachers' philosophy, their strategies, their knowledge, and ultimately right back to the classroom. All of our classes we proudly stand on. They are game changers for all the teachers, whether they're the on-campus programs or the off-site programs. Teachers are never the same after they take a week at the Freedoms Foundation with all the knowledge they get, the camaraderie they get, the friendships they have with other teachers for the rest of their lives, lesson plans, and just tremendous things that the teachers are going to be able to get there. It's a great shot in the arm to continue to motivate our teachers to be historians.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that, Arch. And everybody, we appreciate Georgette. We appreciate Arch tonight and giving us amazing information. We hope to see you all, and to all a good night. And everybody, keep doing your best out there. Keep loving this country, and always finish strong.